Welcome to Earth to Adama. My name is Adama, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I want to talk to all of you about fibroids and my fibroid journey. I am a couple days before surgery. My surgery is on June 5th, 2024, and I am a couple days out, and I'm so nervous. But I thought this was like the right energy to talk about the upcoming surgery, what I went through pre-surgery, how I ended up choosing the doctors, like all of that, and kind of give some advice to people who may be going through this because it really helped me watching other people's video diaries and like them talking about their experience. So I want to get on and share it as well too. So my fibroid journey began the fall of 2023. So around October of last year, I went to just a regular pelvic exam checkup. And I'm based in both Miami and New York, but in Miami, I go to like One Medical, University of Miami, and I scheduled my checkup because like I hadn't gone, I think it was like I was on my second year. That was the last time before that was the last PAP that I had like 2 years prior. So I was like, I need to go. I'm pretty good about keeping up with it. And so scheduled my appointment, went there. And so it comes time for her to do the pap smear and she can't get the speculum, I think they call it. She can't get it in and open to see the cervix. And I'm like, and she's like, so she was like, we should refer you to an OB. And the thing is I had never experienced that. I've had PAPs my entire adult, since you get PAPs, since it was time to get that. I never had that experience with my cervix being blocked. Like they always have been able to do the PAP, no problem. So that was alarming to me. But I was like, because she didn't say, oh, it could be fibroids. Like she didn't diagnose or say anything else. It's like my mind was just like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? This doesn't seem good. So basically, she referred me to an OB. And then when I go to make the appointment, unfortunately, it's so busy that they could get me in January of 2024. And I have to see the nurse practitioner, not the actual doctor. I'm like, I'll take it. Okay. So, yeah, I'm waiting a few months. And what's interesting is it's like now looking back, I realized some of my symptoms and that I just didn't attribute to fibroids. And so when January rolled around, after a few months, I go to my appointment. And unfortunately, I think the U Miami system is just so overcrowded and there's not enough support. And they have a lot of archaic systems that then just everything kind of suffers basically. And that's my personal experience there. Other people may have had good experiences there. I'm just giving you all my experience. But I show up to the OB office on time and I waited like over 2 hours for my appointment. And it's like, I get it. Like, if there's emergencies, they let people in quickly, like before you and things like that. But it was a long time. So then I finally get into see the RN, and so she's about to do the Pap smear again, and so she can't, like the last doctor, get the speculum in to actually do the Pap smear on my cervix. And so she uses her hand and does a pelvic exam. And she's like, oh, you have a fibroid. And I was just like, oh, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so shocked that I didn't realize this or this didn't pop into my brain when the last doctor, but I mean, the last doctor could have said something too. But like, I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's like, you hear like from older women in your family, I'm sure, like I've heard about it, but I didn't actually think like, oh, I'm like that age. Like, I mean, I'm 36. So that's pretty much between the ages of 35 and 40. That's when women, they get the most, because it's there's a different reasons why they say it happens. Your estrogen levels, low vitamin D, low iron deficiency, like there's a bunch of different reasons. But basically that's about the prime age. And so honestly was like, oh my God, because I didn't know anything about it other than, oh, you get a hysterectomy. So I left the office like so stressed out, thinking like, "Oh my God, they're gonna cut out my uterus. Like I'm losing my uterus at 36." And it's like, honestly, like they could have said something like, "No, there's other options, or we're gonna send you to someone so you can review your options. That's not the only option." Nobody said that to me, and like I think that was a huge fail, and kind of made me think like, okay, if I have to get something done, like a serious procedure with this, I don't think I want to go to this doctor. Like I'm going to have to get multiple opinions. So I just wasn't happy about it, that like, okay, now you drop this bomb that I have fibroids, and it's like there's no other information, so that I don't run home thinking like, oh, I'm getting my uterus cut out. So after that appointment, the admin called me and basically set an appointment up for an ultrasound. And so this is a transvaginal ultrasound. And so they just kept saying ultrasound, ultrasound. So I'm thinking the kind they put on like pregnant bellies, like with the thing, like that's what I thought. And then I show up, and I saw now, after while I was in the process of getting it, I realized like, oh, that's what transvaginal is. But no one explained to me like, okay, you're getting a transvaginal ultrasound where there's a probe going in you, and we're taking pictures of it. No one explained that to me as well. Like I had no idea. I thought I was getting a stomach ultrasound. So I'm like she's like laying back, and basically she starts with the probe, and I'm like, I'm getting a what? She's like, oh, it's a transvaginal ultrasound. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, Miami is not winning right now. This is not good. And so I was like, okay. So I I get the transvaginal ultrasound, and they don't tell you anything, of course. But then the report comes back, and basically I have a telehealth call with the RN who initially referred me for the ultrasound, and she said that basically there's one big one that they can see on the ultrasound that's 8 by 8, and that's like the one that's really like essentially making me bloated and like feel uncomfortable, and that's like the problem one. So I was like, okay. So she's like, now we need to refer you to a surgeon, like an OB, that can perform the procedure to remove it or figure out what's the best course of action. And so she referred me it was a male surgeon in Miami. And I prefer to go to women doctors. That's my preference. It is what it is. It's what I prefer. But I was like, you know what? I want to get multiple opinions, not just one. And so basically I schedule an appointment with him. And so he gets the ultrasound, goes over it. He says you should get an MRI, and based on your ultrasound, I would recommend the laparoscopic myomectomy. And I was like, "Oh, okay, interesting." And so basically this is a myomectomy is basically a removal of just the fibroids and not the uterus. So it preserves your uterus and takes out the fibroids. And it does so robotically. So it's through certain incisions, like through your belly button, and then there's like a couple other incisions where the robots go in and then take it out. And so I was like, ugh. I was like, okay, interesting. And so I went and did the MRI. One thing I really wish that someone also had told me is that I should take the CDs after the appointment, like right when I'm there, and not leave, because I did that for both the ultrasound and I did that for the MRI. And it was so hard to get my records to transfer them to Mount Sinai. So, pro tip, if you're thinking like, I don't want to end up wanting to go to this doctor, but I'm going to go through with the MRI or I'm going to go through the ultrasound, get the CD the day of, right after the appointment. So I go get the MRI. I'm like, it's easier. I'm down in Miami already. And it was not comfortable. It's like, ugh, like claustrophobic. And then I had an IV and it was like with contrast. I'm like, oh Lord, what are they pumping into me? But you got to do it because they've got to see how many, they got to get a good count of how many fibroids and where they truly are. And the MRI is more accurate. So another thing that my original provider, who first I started on the journey with, said is like, oh, the transvaginal ultrasound sees everything. We'll be able to see everything. That's not the case. It's not the case. The MRI shows most of, if not all, of your fibroids. And that's what the surgeon needs to go in and accurately take them out. So, but I go to the MRI and then that report comes back. And basically, the surgeon's report said that it was actually 8x10, the biggest one. So, like the size of like a grapefruit, something like that. And then there's a bunch of like 10 others that are like small, like 2 by 2 centimeters. So, that's the ones they can see on the MRI. There may be more. When you get in there, they can find more and then they take those out. And so I took that information. I was like, okay, thank you. And I went through HE double hockey sticks. And I went through, okay, to get my CDs, to get my records with UMiami, to be able to bring them to New York or send them to my doctors in New York. Okay. I won't get into it here, but it was not easy. And the medical record system is not easy. Okay. Not easy. So basically I hunted them down. I had to drive out. I had to pay for like an Uber that was like $80 to drive out outskirts area of Miami, of Miami-Dade County, like to get my record. Like, yeah. So I got them. And then I scheduled a trip, flew up to New York to uh, go to an appointment to Mount Sinai and NYU. So it was between those two. I tried other hospitals and other systems in New York, but they were all busy, couldn't get an appointment. And Mount Sinai, I've been a patient at since my adult life, like moving to the city, all of that. I always have gone to Mount Sinai and I had great experiences. So I had a feeling like I feel like I'm going to go with them. But I also added NYU because I wanted to get a third opinion. So everyone, I recommend you get like 3 opinions. And if 2 out of 3 are saying the same thing, you should go with those 2 things. That's just my opinion. So I go to NYU and I think everyone has their own experience with it. I personally, I wasn't feeling the vibe. And the phlebotomy experience was really challenging. I have small veins, so it takes a little while to get a vein. And like I was stabbed. It was a hot mess. There was like blood. Like, no, won't get into it. But it just wasn't a good experience. And then the doctor there recommended the open myomectomy. So that's that's like the straight up C-section that takes like 6 to 8 weeks to recover from. And I was like, not if the one in Miami even said laparoscopic, which is the robotic, and that's only a couple weeks downtime. And I was like, okay, thanks, but no thanks. So then I went to Mount Sinai the next day, and mind you, I have my CDs in tow. And basically, I had a great phlebotomy experience, great blood drawing experience. Love the doctor. So the doctor that I actually have gone with is Dr. Leigh Rosen. She is fabulous. She was very knowledgeable. She listened to me. She didn't like some of the things I was complaining about with UMiami, like literally not telling me things, like not telling me what a transvaginal ultrasound is, not giving any advice, like nothing. You're on your own. She really was super empathetic and knowledgeable the about the procedure. And she also recommended, she's like, you could go with open, but I can do a laparoscopic myomectomy. That was the procedure that I ended up going with. And basically, yeah, that's the robotic. And you can check out more on it on Google. Go to like a hospital system's website if they have a OB department. You can read more about it. I won't get too far into the ins and outs, but this is my experience with a laparoscopic myomectomy. So went with Dr. Leigh Rosen and basically scheduled my appointment June 5th. And of course, I looked at the astrology and I picked the best date that I could. Not during Mercury retrograde was one of the top things, you know me. And yeah, it's been kind of a countdown. And so I've used the past few weeks before my surgery, I go and getting that mental clarity, like definitely having the best support system with my partner and friends and, my family, even my doggy, like really taking time for myself, but also balancing work and creating content. A few weeks before, I also prepared, I shopped. And let's talk about some of the things that I purchased, some of the things that I had to get for the surgery. And it's like, I haven't had it yet. So in one of my later videos on this journey, I'll let you all know how I ended up liking those things. But these are some of the things that I've read about that are really positive and helpful for people and the things that they recommended. So one of the things that the doctor recommended was like loose fitting clothes. So I got this t-shirt dress, snazzy, right? I got this t-shirt dress from Target. So literally it like goes down past my knees, but it's like loose fitting because you're going to have incisions in the front. So I actually got two that I can kind of interchange for the first couple days. So I got like this one's pretty nice here. And of course, I gotta get cosmic. So I got these loose fitting pajamas. These are gorgeous, right? And I was thinking to wear this at the hospital because it'll just put me in a good mood. And these I got on Amazon. You can check out my shop down in the description box below. I know, look at these are hot. And I got moons. Yes, nighty. They just were like really loose and things you don't mind getting a little, stuff on them. So I also got a long cable. So when I'm in the hospital, if I need to charge my phone or plug it in, things like that. This is like this is like 3 meters. So I also got a metal cane for if I need to like get up, like use the bathroom, things like that at home or just flying. I'm going to have to fly, like all that. And so people were really recommending this and haven't even opened. Let's open the plastic together. This is a myomectomy pillow. So I'm actually really excited about this. So basically like on the car ride home, this wraps around the like base of the seatbelt and it protects. So you put it here and then you put the seatbelt around. So it protects your abdomen, which is where that's the surgery, right? These are sexy. Yes. Yes, granny panties. But these are surgical ones. So I got these off of Amazon and basically they're soft, they're cotton, and they're just soft in that area. So you're not gripped. So, and these are things that I learned from off the web partially and the doctor recommending. So of course, gas relief because they bloat your abdomen up with air. And thank goodness, for this stuff. Acetaminophen, and then of course there's the other stuff that I'm like, I don't want to show this. I don't want to show the other prescriptions on YouTube. Which get those as soon as you can because there's a shortage of, the stronger stuff. Because we all know why. and Docalax stool softener that was recommended as well. And then I haven't fully opened this yet, but Hibiclens. So this is a surgical wash that the doctor recommended that I use the night before, just on my abdomen where they're doing the surgery, and then the morning of. And she's like, you can use lotion and cream from your knees down and this up. So I can use it on my face. I got to do my skincare before I go into, I always want to be dry and all that. I'm going to want chapstick because there's going to be a breathing tube. Also, I got lozenges. So just like Ricola, things like that. I read that you can kind of feel like sore when you wake up because it's been down your throat. So lozenges are something else that I got as well. See her, Ricola. Yeah, I'm excited about these. I think they'll help. So yeah, like preparing things like that has been a focus. And yeah, taking care of my mental health. Like, as I said, there's some mental implications to having fibroids. Like, you can feel like your body's failed you. You're like scared of surgery, like I am. There's a whole host of reasons why you could feel anxiety. So I think that's so important to do before you decide on having surgery, like really sitting with yourself. But one good thing is it's like, from what I've read and what friends have told me, like you feel a lot better afterwards. So I'm almost ready, like let's just get this over with so that there's some sense of relief. So in terms of symptoms, so what's really interesting is that I didn't have long periods. My periods were fairly normal. I did notice, like, and I think this is more PMDD, which I'm going to talk about in a different video. But that's usually like the week prior to my period, which is like all the mood and like hormonal changes, all of that. That ends after day 1 of my period. So it's like I would get cramps, but I never thought like, oh, this is like fibroid symptoms. And another thing as well is I did show the bloating. So definitely I would feel like just uncomfortable in certain pants, like after eating, especially because there's only so much room that you're kind of dealing with. So that's a symptom that I actually did experience. And she actually was surprised that it didn't affect my urination and bowels, because it was like it's in a really uncomfortable place, but my body has kind of just worked with it. But it would start to bother me if it continued. So it's better to just get it out. And another thing as well too is that it can cause things like, if any of you want to become pregnant or carry, like if the fibroids are taking up most of the space, it can cause infertility or can cause miscarriages as well. So basically I think the reason why there's like not much research on them is because they're typically not life threatening, and it's it's women's issues. So it's not as widely talked about. And that's another reason why I want to make this video, to just kind of shed light on something any of you may be going through and need some advice on. So yeah, that was my couple, those are my symptoms, but I didn't get the bleeding stuff. And I think that's why it was never as much of like an emergency for me, like because I didn't get those the changes in period. So but for everyone it's different. For everyone it's different. So yes, I will come back to you all and show you what happens during. I'll try to like sneak some video and things like that leading up to the surgery. Obviously, not the surgery. Yeah, so I'm nervous for the surgery. So nervous. It's like I'm going to be spending the next day or two just getting zen. But I will catch up with all of you in part 2, where I'll record post surgery and what's gone on and what happened and what I should have done, or what I wish I did, or things I liked, things I disliked. So we'll go over all of that in the next video diary. Thanks for watching.